Big crowd. Did you get my questions? So anyway, big crowd. Do you know how much joy I had doing that?
Okay, Heather, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this public hearing being held before the Henrietta Planning Board today, Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the main meeting room, 475 Calkins, Henrietta, New York, 14467, to hear all persons with regard to the following application. But before we get to that, I'll ask the secretary to please take the roll.
Millie Safranek. Here. Marcy Reynolds. Here. Walter Liss.
Here.
Craig Eckert.
Here.
Patricia Brill. Matthew Borkowski.
Here.
James Gruner as chair.
Here. Thank you, Heather. So again, this public hearing is to hear all persons with regard to the following application. Application number PB-336 Erie Ridge Townhomes Subdivision for preliminary subdivision approval of a 20-lot residential subdivision. This would be 17 for sale and or rent townhome lots and 3 lots for 6 apartment buildings on 9.65 acres located on Old Hitching Post Lane in a residential R215 zoned district. This public hearing is being held so that you, the general public, can present your opinions to the Henrietta Planning Board regarding subdivision concerns such as trees, the lots themselves, open space, the infrastructure, utilities, sidewalks, and flood-prone areas. May I ask who is here representing application number PB-336, please?
Megan Sterini with BME Associates.
Hello, Megan. Welcome.
Hello, good to be here. I'm here with Steve DiMarzo and Chris DiMarzo, Chris Nadler with Mark IV, as well as Peter Vars from BME. Yep, here for preliminary final approval of the subdivision plan. We're just here for the revised subdivision plan. The parcel is now broken into 3 tax parcels, which is defined by the proposed dedicated road bisecting the property. The parcels still include the for rent townhomes and apartments, which are included in the special use permit, which was granted in October of 2023. And totals 73 units still. We have received comments from town staff and we have provided responses to them. They are mostly technical in nature and mostly in regards to the site plan application. And I believe that all of our responses were satisfactory. And I also wanted to stress that this development has no relation to the existing legacy development. I believe that's been brought up a couple times, so I just wanted to make sure. So we're here for any questions, and that's about it.
Very good. Thank you. I think I did see your replies today. We always appreciate getting those, so thank you very much. Okay, so at this point, I will ask, are there any residents that have any comments or questions? If so, please feel free to come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and we'll be happy to share your comments with the applicant. No.
Anybody online?
Yeah, are there anybody online? No. Okay, I'll ask any board members have any questions or comments at this point this evening. And again, just a reminder that we will be seeing this in our workshop in just a little bit as well.
No comments here, sir.
No.
At this point.
Okay, no comments. And last request of the audience, any residents want to come up and speak? Yes, sir. Come on up and provide your name and address.
My name's Al Schnooker. I live at 57 Traditions Place. I just was curious, we don't see the units laid out on the new lot drawing. Are the units going to be in the same position and in the same groups? Particularly interested in what the townhouses are.
Is particularly interested in what the townhouses. Oh, the townhouses. Okay. Megan, come on up. And if you like, Megan, it might be easier if you wanted to use the hand mic up there as well. If it's
Don't we have the drawing? Don't they have the drawing that we have?
I have in the updated plan set. Right?
Yeah.
So is that the updated? That's the single lot and the units on it.
Is that okay?
Yes, to answer your question, the townhomes, we received revised footprints and in response to that, I guess, have shifted things a little bit, but we are still maintaining the distances that were previously approved with the original layout.
Okay, having the 5 units close to Old Hitching
Uh,
Post.
When you're speaking,
Yep.
you have to speak in the mic because
Yeah,
we
sorry.
record these.
Having the 5 units close to Old Hitching Post Drive doesn't change the position of the units, the relation. to the Units that are already there.
No.
Thank you.
And if anybody needs to use that wireless mic, it sounds counterintuitive, but I believe you hold down the mute button, which is also the power button.
Would anyone else like to come up and speak? And Heather, one more time, anybody online? Okay, if there are no more comments regarding this application, I therefore close the public hearing. And the planning board will now adjourn the public hearing of tonight's meeting and move into our workshop, our regularly scheduled workshop. Okay, we'll begin the workshop portion of our meeting tonight. Members present, Matt Borkowski, Craig Eckert, Walter Liss, Marcy Reynolds, Lisa Franek, and Planning Board Attorney Don Young, town staff, Chris Martin, Director of Planning and Engineering, and Luke Bushin, Deputy Director, Engineering, Planning and Planning. I'm sorry. At this point, I'll invite the board to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item will be the approval of the minutes of our from our April 16th, 2024 meeting. I think we all had a copy of those. Does anyone have any comments or concerns with the minutes? And if not, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Mr. List, thank you.
I'll second.
Mrs. Reynolds? Or
Millie.
Millie, thank you. Mr. Franek, thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion carries. We have our minutes approved. Thank you. Okay. Next item, application number PB 336, Erie Ridge Townhome Subdivision. This again is for preliminary subdivision approval of a 3-lot residential subdivision for 17 for-rent townhomes, 6 apartment buildings, and a clubhouse on about 9.65 acres of land located on Old Hitching Post Lane in a residential R215 zone district. So Megan, I suppose you're back up again. Do you have any other comments you want to add at this time?
No, I believe I covered it.
Oh.
Just want to stress that we're here for preliminary and final if possible.
Okay.
That's it.
Mr. Young, I've just got prelim on here. We can jump right to final as well if we,
Let me look at what the code says.
okay.
We can go forward with that now.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll begin this evening with Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Just in some of the changes that I guess maybe you've noticed were the sports court changed. Did that decrease in size?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the sports court, did that change?
It changed to be more pickleball court regulation size, correct?
Okay, so there's just 2 pickleball courts planned at the moment?
Yes.
Okay. Was there other additional conversation about the pond on the northwest corner along with the sign, the entrance sign?
We are still working on a location for the monument sign. I've been talking to Chris Martin and Mark Ford just to finalize the location, but it will be outside of any town-owned or water authority-owned easements.
Okay, but was there communication on putting the pond in the northwest corner on development property?
Yes, so we will be consuming that portion of the property from the town.
We'll be assuming it?
So we have had discussions with the town about purchasing that. Nothing's finalized. We haven't submitted a formal offer. It may happen or may not. You know, obviously the town board would have to consider any offer we made. It shouldn't impact the subdivision. But I think we're leaning in that direction at this point, but no final decisions have been.
Okay, well, I guess, and to one of my comments before was, you know, was the pond going to be on town property that the town's going to maintain? And if that's now, we don't know what that is?
I think if it was on town property, the town would maintain it and but pursuant to some sort of a stormwater management agreement with the developer. If it's on the developer's property, I think the developer would maintain it pursuant to a water management agreement with the town that by which
Okay,
the developer would be required to do that.
right.
Was the way I was thinking about it.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking at a town side, I don't believe the town wants a pond to maintain.
You know, I'm hesitant to say, oh, we're gonna own it because we don't.
Right,
But that's the plan is that, you know, we'll purchase that sliver or that, you know, portion from the town if the town board is willing.
okay. Then I think one of my other comments previously was one of the setback on 415, and it looks as though that was addressed. Was the 415, 16, 17 able to move a little west? If I'm reading it correctly, there's now 42 feet. That's what's shown on the plan between 415 and the existing unit to the east, which is more than what was on the previous plan.
So the 42 feet was established from the previous layout with the cul-de-sac layout. So we've
Okay.
been adamant about maintaining that, just to
Okay,
make
so
sure that no,
42.4 is what it's going to be.
it should be 42 plus minus.
Yeah, that's okay. 42 something, and that's between 415 and the existing facade on to the east.
Correct.
Okay, that's what that line showing is the building line, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's addressed. So I appreciate that. So, so that is the end of my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. And I'm sorry, I forgot your name from last time. I just want to, for the record,
Chris Nadler, General Counsel for Mark IV Enterprises.
thank you, Chris. Yep. Okay, the chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, Chris, could you spell your last name again? Thanks. And if people are here and you haven't signed in, make sure you sign in and leave a card if you can. As far as this goes, we've talked a lot about this, Mr. Chairman, so I'm good. Thank you.
Very good, Mr. Borkowski. Thank you very much. Chair will recognize Mr. List.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
You plan on any EV charging stations for these apartments?
Yeah.
You will?
Understanding your stress code requires that we get these hardwired heating garages.
Not in the common area where because there are a lot of there's still some rebates available through next year, to the end of next year, up to 50% to you. Here, you take that for you.
Is that going to make it to the
We're
record?
not gonna turn down.
Don't turn that down. Contact that guy too.
Sir?
All right. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. List. The chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
I don't have any additional questions at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair will recognize Ms. Safranek.
I don't have any questions either.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Martin, anything further from the engineering department? Wow. Really?
He, excuse me, Jim.
Yes, Mr. List.
Is there any of, the grid problem that we're having with, and it's a question for maybe for Chris, with the, you know, the other project, is that gonna affect this in any way?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure of that. I don't think so, but it's not really on this side of town,
Okay, all
but I couldn't say with any certainty.
right, just a side question, that's all. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Young, any final comments from your care, sir?
No further comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, well, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. I'd like to make one conditional approval, or you have information on the final, or? Oh, address that,
Remember we discussed?
yeah, for final.
We can go, yes.
I mean, about written resolution.
Oh, yes, okay.
Want to explain that?
So, Mr. Young was kind enough to prepare these resolutions for our applications this evening, so and I'll forget the language you said to use, but we can, when we make our motions, we can reference the resolution
As
as written.
Mhm.
Or if we wish to make any modifications, we can say as written with the following modifications. So that's how you want to word your motion.
Yeah,
So-
similar to how it's done at town board.
Sure. So
So the board has before it a draft resolution for prelim and final approval with 7 conditions.
So I am in agreement with the draft resolution. I have, I guess, one additional comment on, I don't know if there's a way to, I guess it's addressed either way, and Mr. Nadler has addressed whether it's going to be a town-owned pond or not. And my only request back to the town board would be that it's not a town-owned pond, but that's their decision to make, right?
Condition number C condition.
Number 4.
Oh, you did write it in there. Provide proof of authority for use of the pond on neighboring land. Okay.
Whether
Perfect.
it's town owned or whatever it is.
Right. Okay, so then, Mr. Chairman, I
Yes, sir.
will, make a resolution and we can approve final and we can do this off.
it's,
of
yeah, but it's going to be a
Fine.
motion. It's going to be a motion.
Move the resolution as written for final.
For final.
Yep.
Yep. So then I will make a motion to approve the resolution for the approval of subdivision application for the Erie Ridge Townhomes at or about Erie Station Road.
Very good. Thank you,
As
Mr. Eckert.
Yep.
As written. Yep. Do I have a sufficient second, please?
I'll second it.
Mr. Liss? Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Well,
Appreciate it. Look forward to starting construction in the very near future.
very good. Yeah,
For your information.
excellent. Okay, perfect.
You feel more comfortable if I can send one tomorrow? Is it for you guys?
Yeah, is that okay?
Because we just
Yeah.
want to have some more final picture.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, good night.
And Mr. Young, I just want to clarify, Mr. Eckert made a motion to move the resolution as written to approve preliminary and final site plan.
Subdivision, yep.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, very good. Next on the agenda this evening.
You did secret.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda, application number 24-006. This is Starbucks for final site plan approval of a 1,650 square foot coffee shop with drive-through service and associated parking located at 1100 Jefferson Road in a commercial B1 zone district. Good evening and welcome back.
Hello. My name is Joshua Saxton, Pastor Associates, representing the client today for the Starbucks located at 1100 Jefferson Road. So I guess, yeah, starting this off, project's been a while in the making. I think it was early 2023 kind of started with town process of kind of seeing what interest was or what other requirements may be needed for this development early on. And as I'm sure you've seen in the plans, one point of contention was revising the existing intersection, mainly the eastbound approach to the main entrance off of Jefferson into the site. If you've driven in that plaza, it's a very interesting intersection is how I would put it. Just a lot of not what I would consider traditional. That's on the eastern side there. So, the existing drive lane goes through, but I guess the westbound approach didn't really line up with it. So that was one, site change to have this developed in was obviously to improve that, to not only make ease through the plaza easier, but also, provide a more safe route for vehicles to traverse the plaza. I've driven in there plenty of times, and I know taking lefts and turning out places, you can't really see who's coming on one approach. So I think it's be a good improvement to the overall plaza. And then moving on to the actual Starbucks, why we're here to discuss this project. It kind of went through a bunch of iterations with the town. Originally, it was more vertical. Didn't really want that, mainly due to eliminating a lot of the parking along the northern part of the parking lot. So it was going to eliminate some spaces near some of those existing businesses in the plaza, which made sense. Obviously, we wanted to keep as much parking close to them and then the Starbucks farther away to kind of differentiate the two developments. So that's kind of where we ended up on this layout, where it's more to the south and more wide to, obviously provide that parking while also providing the required site features and amenities that Starbucks will need. Kind of looking at the parcel here, it's right off of the entrance and exit onto East Henrietta Road. The queuing for the drive-through, which I know is always a point of importance, especially at a Starbucks, as everyone's seen, those can queue up pretty well. We'll start on the eastern side of the site, looping up around with the ordering window kind of along the northern part of the development, and then looping down to the south where they would pick up their order, with the exit back onto the interior Plaza Road, kind of looking at it on the western side of the development. As a part of the special use permit that was granted for this project for the outdoor seating, the drive-through, and other restaurant uses for this site, it was, stated if in the future, nothing's needed now, but if the queuing issues are observed, obviously if the project goes through, that we'll have to institute signage, no idling signage, so that if, cars are idling in that drive aisle of the plaza, that we, address that and make sure that they're not doing that, which is obviously don't want to do. Make sure people accessing things other than Starbucks in the plaza can traverse the site easily. Some other site features, a good point about, this development is it's adding a bit of green space to the lot. There are some islands, center islands that are green space, but this will add, a decent chunk more grass and vegetation, which is always welcome, I think, in some of these plazas where, when they were developed, there was massive amounts of parking. I mean, as you can kind of see in the aerial there, there's not a whole lot of parking. Obviously, don't know when it was taken, but we did conduct a parking study when this originally went through for the town board to take a look, make sure the amount of parking on the site is, this isn't going to eliminate so much parking and people aren't going to have a space to park. It was found during that study that, there's ample parking there now. And there's, no issue in this development eliminating, a decent chunk of the parking along the southern portion, because a lot of people going to the business to the north are going to obviously park as close to those businesses as they can. Only, obviously extreme events, if you have Black Friday or some of those other holidays and big busy seasons where people are going to be shopping, that it kind of trickles down into the south. But during our observation, found that the parking is adequate, even with this development. Getting a little bit more site specific, we have an interior parking lot with dedicated ADA spots and rapid pickup spots. Dumpster enclosure located kind of in the northwestern corner of the site. And, some additional, like I said, green space and sidewalk access. So people parking around the lot can also access the site if needed. As far as some other items are concerned, utilities, benefit of it being kind of in a very busy area. There's a lot of existing utilities on site, sanitary water. It's all servicing the existing businesses, so it's a lot of just private taps into those utilities. Stormwater, kind of located on the eastern side is one of the central low points of the plaza parking lot. So this is kind of taking a chunk of that and it's collecting just on the Starbucks property. So we'll have catch basins and underground stormwater piping systems to collect that runoff, with some exterior catch basins around kind of the perimeter of the new drive aisles to collect any of the runoff that may be, coming south from the northern part of the plaza. Sanitary will have, grease interceptor as any restaurant would to, meet those requirements. We're proposing some site lighting on site to obviously illuminate the Starbucks, make dark sky compliant lights, pointing down lights, per the town requirements. Landscaping, adding some trees, shrubs, other vegetation around the site to kind of beautify it. Add a little green to the gray plaza per se. And yeah, that's essentially it. We, based on the queuing, I know, I guess, kind of going back to that. I know it's, like I said, a big point, but it's, per the Starbucks standards of what they've observed in similar prototypes that, what's required. And I think compared to some of the other Starbucks in Henrietta, it has a little bit more queuing distance than others. And also, obviously that caveat, if there is queuing issues in the future, even though we don't think there will be, it's been established that we're gonna have to mitigate that in the future if needed. I guess one point that when we were submitting this, elevations of what the Starbucks would look like, they're still being finalized for Starbucks, still kind of hashing that out with the architects and Starbucks. So we don't have anything right now officially to share, but we do have some, and I printed it out. There's no colors, which I know isn't really. So these are obviously subject to change, but just some general comments. Not to say it looks like every other Starbucks, but there will be signage along all four sides. This is the
I have to hold it down for a few seconds if it's, oh,
It's
there you go, you're live. Okay.
Got it. So like I said, these are subject to change. This is the west and east elevation. So the western elevation would be the one facing East Henrietta Road. So kind of the top would be this vertical wood veneer sidings with the signage. And then a lot of the other paneling would be trying to see the colors on here. Some additional wood and then just typical paneling along the sides, and that kind of I guess look kind of follows the north and west with the wood on the top with the Starbucks signage, and kind of the additional paneling and windows also on that side.
So Joshua, that top one there, that's the look from Jefferson Road?
So this is the north elevation. So from Jefferson Road, it'd be the south elevation. So this side,
That's the front facing Jefferson.
yes, and then the west,
That's Black River.
Oh, that's true.
and
Yeah,
then
you're right.
the west side, which is a little bit more visible. There will be some.
That faces East Henrietta
Yeah,
Road, the top
yes.
part there,
So that's the side with the
drive-through.
the drive-through. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand, we're obviously hashing out with the elevations, but wanted to present something, for you guys to review, but, those are forthcoming with, once they're finalized by Starbucks, because once we're done with it, we've got to submit it to Starbucks. They got to okay it. If they have any revisions, same thing with the site plans. We went through the same thing, but just wanted to give kind of a painted picture of Starbucks. I know it's a Starbucks, so most of the time, not to say once you've seen one, you've seen them all, but they do kind of follow a national standard. That I know living and being in Henrietta, there's a bunch of Starbucks, so.
And Joshua, is this the same owner as some of the others in town here?
Yes, there's same one that developed the one on Calkins and East Henrietta Road.
Okay.
So where that old bank used to be. So it's the same developer as that. So. So yeah, so here to answer any questions, concerns.
Very good.
The board may have.
Okay, well, the chair will recognize Mr. Franek.
So how many vehicles can queue in that?
I know that was one of the comments we received. And that's one thing we're going to add is just typical cars queuing.
Mhm.
I would say, I don't want to say off the top of my head. I know the total queue, if you're to start at the entrance, looping around to the stop sign or the stop bar of the drive-through, I put in some F-150s and I think I was able to fit 14 F-150s
Okay.
in there. So obviously, a decent amount of the queuing will be if, from that entrance point to the ordering window, because that's when people are ordering and that's kind of where a delay is. And then
Right.
obviously at the drive-through pickup when they're waiting for their food. But, per what we've laid out, it's the Starbucks standard per se. I know there's some sites that adjust to what the site can give them, but this was, I wouldn't say blank canvas, but we were able to, the Starbucks standard of, what they see for the queuing, what they want to know, and what they've observed for the amount of cars that queue at some of the restaurants is kind of what we've incorporated. And that was one of the big points when we were going through Starbucks was making sure that we had that, because that's obviously, I know one of the big complaints they get too is, especially if it's queuing into roads and blocking things, that's one of the main complaints they receive.
Yeah, absolutely. I have seen some of the Starbucks where there's no issue with the queuing, and then I've seen other ones where it's extremely popular and
Mhm.
it spills out. So it's hard to predict as to which way it's gonna go
Mhm.
based on the location. Is the exit, it looks like the exit is exiting into almost the same location as Burger King?
It's close. It's a little bit to the west, I believe, of that. We wanted to also give a decent amount of distance from the East Henrietta Road exit, so that the exit to the drive-through isn't right there. And if people are waiting to take a right, turn onto that street, so that there's as far as the queuing goes on that, we didn't want someone being stuck there if they're trying to take a left and go out towards the Jefferson exit, that they're not blocked enough there. So we wanted to move it far enough back that there was a decent chunk of queuing distance if something were to back up at that intersection. But that's kind of where it also fit to make sure, existing drive aisles could be maintained in the plaza. And also aligning with the drive aisle that's already there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess my suggestion would be is that there be appropriate signage for exiting out of that area right there, given that there's a potential for a lot of traffic going in a lot of different directions, coming and going. Is there proposed seating, outdoor seating?
Yeah, there is that, it's to the south of the building, that concrete area. So that was a part of the special use permit, was getting some of the getting an outdoor dining area.
Okay, where,
For the-
can you show me on the,
It's to the south there. It's kind of that concrete pad. There's that door.
okay, so towards, okay. And what sort of barriers and protections are proposed for that particular area? Uh-huh,
Essentially this kind of dining area.
okay,
Obviously, we have different parts here. Kind of the part. So that. Yeah, we do have to propose comments. Along the area. It is a decent distance from the drive aisle. Really, the only vehicular, obviously, if someone's, driving mad through the plaza, that's one thing. But the only real general normal vehicular traffic that's going to be close to it is the drive-through, and that's kind of a controlled approach through the site. It's a good, I would say 20 feet from the drive aisle there. So, and there'll be some vegetation and trees also kind of blocking that area as well.
Great. Okay, and is there a plan for other sidewalks or crosswalks, just for safety purposes, if anyone's traversing the lot, say from the line of stores along the south there and coming across, walking across the lot towards Starbucks? Seems like maybe there should be at least one additional crosswalk or something there.
We could look, I know to the south, it's the Burger King there. And then to the kind of to the east, that's the Five Guys. I don't know if Joe's Brooklyn's still there. So it's other restaurant uses, and not to say that there isn't crossover. That's something we can definitely look into. We did provide right next to the dumpster enclosure a sidewalk access there to if anyone's parked in the north or in those other businesses and they wanted to walk down, they don't have to walk the entire way through, a drive aisle. They have an access point for getting to the sidewalk, which kind of circulates through the development. So, but we can look into some access to the south, even though I don't foresee a whole lot.
Yeah, I was actually thinking more to the north.
To the north, yeah.
Yeah, the row of stores where Starbucks had been there. That a lot of people, walk from store to store.
Mhm.
And
I can see,
there's
maybe,
potential from crossing that lot.
yeah. Yeah, one thing could look at that one sidewalk access by the dumpster, if we want to have a crosswalk there, and then maybe revise that one westernmost island to maybe have some sidewalk in it, so people can wait if people are driving through there.
Yeah,
But, we do have that sidewalk access now, but we can look to see if we can beef that up to provide more pedestrian access.
thank you. And those three islands there to the north, are those to break up the traffic?
Yeah, so,
little
yeah,
bit
the
of a-
existing condition, those aisles just go all the way through. As opposed to having striped islands or parking right there to kind of break up, and add a little bit more green space to add some curbed grassed islands there to, break up the parking to the north, and then that kind of the new drive aisle we're creating with
Okay,
this development.
I see. So that's a drive aisle that's in between the,
Yep.
okay,
And that's just to provide access around the whole development and not,
not without.
so
having
someone has to
go
have to
through
drive
the
all the way
drive-through
around. Yeah. Yep.
And that the area that's coming off of the East Henrietta Road, is that developing a little bit of a bump out there? I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at with,
So yeah, it was that the existing,
sorry.
So yeah.
existing kind of layouts. May have not printed it.
Craig's got it over here.
Yeah, there.
So you can, it's kind of another similar to, not as obviously extreme as this intersection.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of a weird pinch point where these people are coming in, and then there's a drive aisle here, but then there's a stop bar here. So that was another point, was kind of bumping this out and creating a more T intersection here, as opposed to like that kind of conglomerate of pavement that was there, and people driving through here but stopped here,
Okay. I
also
see.
creating some traffic concerns.
Making it clear that you need to stop at that particular.
Yeah. And then we're adding a new stop bar there, so it's combining these two drive aisles into one point, as opposed to kind of the weird dual approach that was there now.
Okay, great. That makes sense. And so I guess my last comment is just in that I understand it's Starbucks and that there's, you know, a typical look for Starbucks, but this is in some ways it's a kind of a unique location in that it's almost like a 360. Being that it's in the center of kind of a fairly busy area with the frontage there over on East Henrietta Road, and then that aisle, that drive there that goes between the Starbucks and Burger King. Just to keep it in mind that we would want something that would beautify that area. 360.
Yep.
Without having, you know, to look at a big brick wall on really any of the sides, I would think.
And that's our intent too, is once we have those elevations finalized, obviously providing to this board to review, I'll make any comments on. So, you know, I'm fully aware if, you know, you guys want to see those first before making any decision, I totally understand. So obviously I would say it's probably the busiest intersection in Henrietta, maybe the county, Jefferson and East Henrietta Road. So a lot of traffic, a lot of eyes. So definitely, especially when redeveloping like this, I understand you want to see something a little more robust, or obviously want to see it before go forward with it. So, but that is in the plan once we get those elevations finalized, obviously providing them to you, make any comments, recommendations on the facade and signs, things like that. So.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franek. The chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
welcome.
I also want to address or ask about the traffic. Are 8 people still able to drive? People, because you can't turn left onto East Henrietta Road from either the Burger King or that location. Can they still access to turn left on East Henrietta Road, driving north towards the plaza? There used to be people that pull out of Burger King would, because you can't turn left, they go north towards the stores to turn left on East Henrietta Road there. Is that still going to be accessible, or do people now
Yeah,
have
so
to
we're
go
still,
all the way around to turn left on East Henrietta Road?
yeah, so that it's not a right in, right out at that intersection. It is, people can still travel northbound into the plaza. It was just more of that westernmost side parking area, people coming down there, kind of meeting at a central intersection, as opposed to they have a stop bar there, but then maybe someone coming out of Burger King can go through, but then, you know, it's just kind of creating more central, but yes, you can still go north to that
Yeah, I was
point.
thinking like at the west, on the
Yeah.
west side of the building.
Yep.
They still have access.
That's still a two-way drive aisle through there.
Yes, I guess I'm just really concerned about the traffic coming in and coming out, because the Burger King and the Starbucks would all be entering and exiting at almost the exact same point. And I'm just, to be honest, I'm not sure how that's going to work. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Reynolds. So Joshua, you said that the stacking or the queuing would accommodate up to 18 vehicles, did you say?
It was for in that whole, it was an F-150, so it was kind of an extreme case of vehicle. It was 14 from
14.
my
Okay.
guess. And that's something we're gonna add to, you know, the plans after this is, you know, portions of queuing, you know, from this point to this point, can have this many average sized cars, this point to that point, so many average, and then an overall for the whole queuing.
What's your percentage of drive-through traffic through walk-in? Do you know?
I think, as I'm sure you guys have all seen, the increase of drive-through
Yeah.
has gone up a lot. And then also with, you know, DoorDash, Uber Eats, all this stuff, it's a lot of rapid pickup where people are ordering and then someone's driving in, parking for a bit, picking up the order and going. So it is a hybrid approach where it's not, Starbucks does have only drive-through stores. This is a hybrid where it is have the drive-through, but obviously sit down, walk in as needed. But I would say a majority will be drive-through and the rapid pickup. With obviously there will be some people that still want to go in and order and sit outside, or they're working somewhere in the plaza and they want to come walk down to it. Those people still
Yep.
exist. So
Okay, thank you. Chair will recognize Mr. Liss.
Chairman,
You're welcome.
are all those little areas in the parking lot, like the little islands, those will all be landscaped within, my
Yes,
thing from the Conservation Board is not coming up. I didn't see what they had,
Yeah, so it's essentially just the sidewalks, connecting it, all the areas that are kind of blank outside of the drive aisle, parking lot area, and that sidewalk that will be green.
in that dining area that you mentioned to Mrs. Franek that there will be a fence. How tall will that fence be? And you know, you're not looking out on Jefferson Road or smelling the charcoal from Burger King.
yeah. I'll have to double check and see. I believe it was a 4-foot fence, but it could have been higher. I know it's obviously a concern. You want it robust enough if a vehicle were to come on, but like I said, I think there's significant amount of green and distance from the drive access to, if this was, you know, a foot or two off of here or kind of more adjacent to a drive aisle, be a little bit more concerned, but kind of the way it's oriented and the distance from everything. And I also think with the fence we have and the vegetation that we're going to put in, it's going to provide a good enough buffer for people sitting there.
Well, I think it's a welcome addition to a pretty tired plaza. So I look forward to it. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. List. Chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
I know the Starbucks. I know what they look like. I would like to see more detailed elevations, especially when, you know, we're not talking about preliminary here. We're talking about, you're asking for final.
Yep.
And also, especially when we're talking about the west side, it looks like, I think I heard Mr. Eckert mention it, but we've got the drive-through there. It looks like we've got a blank wall. It's really hard to tell with the black and white, the monochrome that you have. So I don't like that on final site plan stuff. So I have a big problem with that. I also agree with some of my cohorts here where my business is right next to this plaza. I'm in there quite a bit. So I am a little biased, but the main traffic pattern is the South Road. It's not the North Road next to the plaza. It's that South Road. And you touched on a couple of them. You got the Moe's, you got Joe's, you've got Five Guys, you've got Burger King, you've got Verizon just across this way. You've got Dairy Queen, something over there. That road is a mess. It's already a mess. People are trying to take a left out of Five Guys, go north on East Henrietta Road, and getting out, there's a line in that parking lot. This is going to exacerbate that immensely to the point where I don't even know if it's doable. Now, I don't work for the DOT, but between that and the fact that we don't have a decent elevation, I can't vote yes on this today. I'll tell you that, but that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. The chair will recognize Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the elevations. I want to be able to see what we're doing here, especially on the drive-through end and that such. You know, that I was hoping that for final, we would have something that we could look at and vote and take a look at. I'm sorry to say we don't have it. I am also interested in a couple of other things. I think I've answered my own question on the decorative fence, and that's going to be obviously the one around the seating on the south side there. So that's good. And again, I'm all for reuse of an existing dead parking lot. These are great uses, and right after reusing a dead building is a dead parking lot. So we're not, taking other green space up. So I'm all for that. I definitely want to see elevations before we get anything approved. I want to see a comm check on the site lighting. That's something new that we want to keep doing going forward. Part of this either application package or with the board. I want to be able to see the comm check that the site lighting meets the standards.
Okay.
Okay. So that can always come in later. I know it's probably part of the building permit. But I think we need to see it first too, now that the town owns the lighting. So for the subdivision that was in previously, we're calling out those standards of what the lights go into. Here, we obviously don't have any oversight. We just want to make sure we're matching.
Yep.
And then we're not lighting up Walmarts, or so to speak, what I call Walmarts, because sometimes they get lit up more than car dealerships. So, but I understand the safety part too, so that's why I want to make sure we have a comm check on that. Only other question that I had was some of the confluence with the dumpster enclosure. I was and that's gonna go with the elevations too. I want to be able to see what that's supposed to look like. Because there's a couple of different comments in there. I wasn't able to, I think, understand. I don't know if you can pop that up real quick on that detail. Yeah, we are looking at the first detail sheet. I think that's C 202. The dumpster enclosure has a couple of different informations on it. First, it's shown as 7 feet there, and then it's listed as a 6-foot high masonry dumpster enclosure. So I have a dimension and a different note. And, our standard is 8. Now I will acquiesce that we have allowed a 5-footer on another Starbucks, but with the note that obviously the dumpsters can't be over the top. So the similar one that was done at Kenneth and Lehigh Station Road, we did, I think, acquiesce to something smaller with that comment to it. That one was even more pronounced, and I don't know if this makes even more sense, so it's not so proud in between the facades of these buildings. We can take a look at that. I don't see any materials. It just says 6-foot high swing gates. So I don't know if there can be some more detail added to that, so we understand if they're wood paneled or, hopefully they're solid and not just like a chain link fence. Again, usually they're parked in the back of a building. Here, they're going to be right in between the two. People from the storefronts will be facing it, right?
Yep.
Then I guess, I don't know if this is a clarification on my part, but I'm not reading this one note, I think, very well. So maybe that's where I'm looking for some clarification. The note in the top left corner of this enclosure to me states dumpster enclosure sizes, colors, and materials shall be approved by the owner. Size of the dumpster shall be verified by the owner prior to start of the dumpster enclosure installation. I believe that we have authority.
Yep, I don't disagree.
Okay, so I don't know if that note can be removed.
Yep.
Or clarified maybe a little bit better, or if we have some better information that we can, that if they want to place on there what they want it to be, then we can therefore approve it.
I think maybe that note's for, and something we run into the past of, just having dumpster closed and then they order something that they want, or the contractor orders it, and then they're like, oh, that's not the color we wanted. So it's more of, I think it was more of a check note, but I definitely agree. It's
And that's
not
fine
up
too.
to them to decide it's obviously what you guys want.
No,
so.
but if they want to tell us what they want, I'll be
Yeah.
glad to approve it, and then it becomes part of the approved plan that the contractor bids on, and
Mhm.
we can see that through on that end. So
Yep.
I'll offer that, and and again, the 5-foot, if that's something of interest. I think that the Starbucks had to make a note to that or comment that, obviously that was going to be cleaned out in time, and that it was, I didn't think it made a whole much of difference between monthly or biweekly cleanups or pickups to that degree. So those are the other 2 comments that I had on that besides the elevations, which I'd like to see. So those are the end of my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. Mr. Borkowski, is there anything the applicant can provide to you in the future that would alleviate your concerns about the traffic at all? What would you like to see?
Because this is a plaza, I would actually like to see some metrics. I'd like to see somebody go out there. The problem is you're changing the traffic pattern. So I don't know if there's anything you could do to appease me. It's just my spidey senses are on high alert with this thing. So I don't think that there would be something. If you even had somebody out there, I know Benderson has done it before. They'll literally have somebody sit there and for a couple hours and find out. Now, how you can extrapolate what this will do with that, I don't know, but it would help, I think. And I think probably what you would have to do is stand where you're proposing and see what's coming out of Burger King, then see what's coming out. And by the way, some come from behind Five Guys. So in between Burger King and Five Guys, there are people that leave the drive-through of Burger King and go out there because they can't wait any longer. Then you've got the other 2 entrances / exits for Five Guys, Joe's Brooklyn, Moe's. So really finding out what's going there and how often a person like gives up trying to take a left into that road to hit East Henrietta, they'll actually go right, go up to Jefferson, take another right, and then another right. I've seen it 100 times. So once again, my problem is right now it's already kind of a mess, but it works. Adding this, I don't know if it'll work anymore. So sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't have a clear answer. I know that's wishy-washy. Maybe getting some just people, clickers out there, figuring out what's going on and then go, wow, this won't work. Or yes, it will. And here's what we saw. I guess that would help a little bit.
So maybe, Matt, almost like a little mini traffic study for just that area and through there?
Exactly.
Like you're checking turning movements for maybe like
Queuing
a
of
peak
that.
hour?
Yeah, and
time?
yeah, especially in this area, we'd go, on the weekends, lunchtime, and then lunchtime on a weekday, kind of the time that you expect the most traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and observing the traffic there, seeing, especially I know some of the points, seeing the queuing distance of how far cars are going to be backed up.
And you know what is interesting, and probably giving too much away here, but Starbucks is, well, they're busy a lot, but the morning people want their coffees, right?
Yeah.
So they're not really fighting. You get some of that at Burger King. But people aren't going to Burger King for coffee. They're going for food. So I think the morning you will have more stuff at Starbucks. During the lunch, you're getting the crowd. So maybe that'll mitigate itself.
Yeah. And that's something we'll look at too, is obviously the existing additions, and then with our proposal, figuring out how much generated traffic this is going to be anticipated in those hours, and then adding that on top of the kind of the queuing analysis to see, is that going to be an impact? But yeah, I definitely think that's doable, getting some data out there to confirm and
maybe you will find out going, holy cow, this won't work.
Yeah.
But you've been in here a bunch of times. If you came in and said, hey, we saw a couple problems, so we'll make this little edit here that should alleviate the problem, or wow, we got to turn this around. I don't know.
Mhm.
But until I saw that, like I said, I can't vote for this, and I'd be inclined to table it, but I'll kind of deflect to my cohorts here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Borkowski. And Josh, again, it's going to be very important for this board that western side
Yep.
not be treated as the back of the restaurant or something like that. And just an example, other examples in town, the McDonald's on West Henrietta Road, the Panera on Jefferson, and the Floor and Decor. We kind of had a lot of back and forth
Yep.
with those applicants to make sure that those highly trafficked roads that would see that, and it's in your best interest too.
Yep.
That they're attractive. And we even went so far as to have the McDonald's, they put up those faux windows. I don't like the jet black, but they put something up to break up that wall, which was going to be terrible looking from everybody driving by on West Henrietta Road. Then they put the grids up there to make them look even more
Mhm.
window-like. But those are the types of things we'll be looking for, I think, for that East Henrietta Road side of your project
Yep.
there. Okay, so just so you understand that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes, Mr.
piggyback
Eckert.
on Mr. Borkowski's comment. I mean, I was thinking of tabling just on the elevations part as well. So if Mr. Borkowski is interested in tabling on the traffic, I'm interested in tabling on the elevations. So just my own comment.
Sure. Mr. Martin, any comments from the engineering department, sir?
No, I think I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Young?
Nothing further.
Okay, well, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I would make a motion to table this
very good.
for two reasons. One being more detailed elevations and some return on a traffic study.
Okay,
I'll second.
Mr. Eckert. Okay, very good. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The application is tabled. And we'll look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thanks, Joshua.
Have a good day.
You too. Okay. Next item on the agenda, this is a discussion item only. It's a Mango Cannabis Dispensary. The planning board is to review the building elevations for a dispensary located at 3553 West Henrietta Road in a commercial B1 zoned district with a mixed use redevelopment area overlay district. Just FYI, this is the old Chappie's Hots site next to the railroad tracks on West Henrietta Road, correct?
Well,
No, that's correct. The
Okay,
hard
great.
copies that were provided are different.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Randy Bebout with Bowler Engineering here on behalf of our client, New York Rochester Group LLC, AKA Mango Cannabis,
Pardon me, Randy, can you spell your last name for us, please?
BEB O-U-T.
Leave out. Okay, thank you.
And with our client, Kevin Pata is on the phone also, and he'll be able to speak a little bit about this, but just a quick overview of the project. You mentioned it's the old Chappie's restaurant. We're proposing to repurpose this with the Mango Cannabis Retail Dispensary. They did get their special use permit from the town board. They do have their license from New York State, so we're now in front of this board looking for approval of the elevation. We are not making any building additions to this. It's really just exterior facade work and then really gutting the inside and redoing the inside. Exterior work is really limited to milling and resurfacing the parking lot. Some slight grade changes for the ADA, new ADA signage, restriping the parking lot. And that's really about it. We're not changing any setbacks or anything like that. So just to talk about the building quickly. So it's a brick building with a ephes facade. So what we're proposing is to paint the brick, which is the orange. And I do have, I can actually pass this up. We need colors. So the green is the accent piece, which is festival green. That's a Sherman-Williams color. The orange is Carnival. That's the main base color. And this is Mango Cannabis's brand colors. They have other locations in the south that they use this colors. And I think Kevin's going to show us some examples. But yeah, so we're painting the brick, removing part of the ephes canopy and creating this metal panel surround around the front entry door. So the original version that was submitted to the town had that entrance door further to the right. This revised version just moves that entrance door to the center. And it's really all driven by the interior floor layout, which is what is driving that door location. And then there's bronze trim work around that metal panel and around the top of the parapet wall, if you will. And then set within that bronze trim work is some LED lighting that will, highlight accent on the building. But some like I believe, and Kevin can confirm this, but like some of the windows are existing windows that are stained. And that door will be a new door because the existing entrances are, actually, I might be wrong in that. Maybe there is an entrance right where that door is, but there's also another one on the left that would be removed. Kevin, you want to chime in and share some of the examples?
Yes, good evening, board members. So yeah, currently the current entry door is in the center. There's also an entry door on the left, and then there's also doors on the right or the west and the east side of the buildings as well. All the windows are going to stay existing. We plan on ripping out the current facade in the front and changing it with a more modern, sleek look with straight lines and aluminum panels that will go on there with awning going over all the windows and the doors. Then above that will be our sign, our Mango Cannabis channel letters, which will be in white. And then there will be a white halo light that goes all along the seam on the roof and then also along the entranceway where the aluminum panels are at. As you can see, there's LED light that goes all the way through. This is a very subtle light, probably only glows out maybe half a foot to a foot. Just gives it more of a halo look. It catches your attention. There won't be any colors though, it'll just be pure white. And right now we're deciding on keeping the building, the current brick it's a beautiful brick, just needs to be painted. And it will look good, and then the rest of it will be stucco. And that's about it. The parking lot will be milled. It'll be a brand new parking lot. And then the entire inside, as you can see, the floor plan, it's a open floor plan. You walk in, you check in. There's displays all around the store. There'll be kiosks all around the stores. There's a public restroom to your right. There's a private restroom in the back for our team members. And all your POS systems are in the at the back where the packing and storage is at. You'll see all the shelving and then windows where they'll be handing the product off, bagged up, ready to be tendered out to our consumers. And then they would make their way out the same way they entered. So very basic floor plan, simple, clean. And we believe that it's gonna look really nice once it's all said and done. We have some better renderings of some previous stores that we've done that pretty much utilize the same exact design as this location that I can share with you as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that what you said last there.
Yeah, I was saying that I have some better renderings, more 3D better renderings that are 3D of a similar design that we did in New Mexico. That is a spin-off of that design, right?
Would you have photographs of
I
current?
think he's trying to share it.
Oh, okay.
Correct, Kevin, you're trying to share that?
Yeah, I can share it. Let me share this. I'm on my, sorry guys, I'm traveling right now, so I'm on my phone.
You might have to be, yeah.
And Kevin, how do you spell your last name?
That's Pattah, P-A-T-T-A-H. All right.
Thank you.
So here's the exterior, and this uses color channel letters. We won't be using color channel letters, of course, for OCM's rules. They only allow white light. And we won't have any of the awning in here that says flour, bathe, edibles, concentrating. But pretty much the front will look a lot like this, just a slimmed down version of it. This would be the side of the building.
That's a lot more glass in the front than what we have, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, he said it would look similar to that.
Yeah, this is this is the New Mexico property. This is a 9,000 square foot building, but the design itself is identical as far as the color schemes, all the specs, all the materials being used, all the same materials. So you'll have these same awnings that are on the side that come down. We'll have those installed. You have the aluminum panels in the front. Of course, we'll not have a Mingo Cannabis icon on top because that's currently not allowed by the OCM. The three-dimensional aluminum panels on the corners, and then flat in the center signage. The halo lighting as you see it. And then here are some interior pics of the New Mexico project, which the New York store will have the same aesthetic feel, but the design will be different because we're not allowed to display active product on the sales floor. So our displays will be very similar to the cellular industry where you have wall units that come out 8 inches to a foot and a glass showcase on top that showcases one of each product. So customers can view and then they can place their order via kiosk or through a butt tender or at the cashier desk.
How many mango stores are there right now?
Currently, there's 8 and 7 more under construction right now, including this location. So we have 3 under construction and go ahead.
Talk in the mic so you can hear you.
Kevin, can you say that one more time? You kind of cut out there.
Yes, currently there is 8 operational stores and 7 under construction. 3 in Oklahoma, 2 in Michigan, 1 in New Mexico, and 1 in New York right now.
Very good.
And 8 operational currently in Oklahoma.
Where? I'm sorry. 8 operational.
Oklahoma. Correct.
Oklahoma. Yep. Okay. Oh, very good. Well, this is,
Sorry.
thank you, Kevin. This is a discussion item, so I'll open it up to the board to offer your comments and questions. And Mr. Fennick, I'll begin with you.
Yeah, I guess, when I look at the special use permit, by the town, they have a sixth condition that signage cannot glorify cannabis, promote the overindulgence of cannabis, or be overly flashy. So, just kind of taking that into consideration and looking at some of the colors and the lighting that you're proposing, I would prefer to see something that's a little bit more elevated, rather than something that's a bright orange. I'm looking at one of your locations in Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, which does have like the brick front. It does have, the orange and the green signage, but it definitely looks a lot more elevated than maybe what I'm seeing with the bright orange and the entire building being bright orange and green. So I guess that's just kind of my opinion, is that I would really prefer to see something that's a little more professional, a little bit more in keeping with Henrietta, and something that kind of steers away from something that's overly flashy.
Thank you, Mr. Fennick. Mrs. Reynolds?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also agree, looking at some of the sites on the website, Enid, Edmund, and Norman. The Norman site does have the brick front and the signage. And I know we're talking about aesthetics, but just curious, what are the security in the building? What kind of security do you have in the building? Just out of curiosity.
Kevin, you want to take that question?
Sure. Are you asking regarding New York, what kind of security we're gonna have, or?
Mark, what type of, or any of your buildings? I don't know if you have if you have a security system, if you have.
Oh, of course, absolutely. We take security very seriously. We typically will cover every camera angle twice. So, I mean, for this location, 3,800 square feet, we anticipated roughly 60 to 65 cameras throughout the whole store, and including exterior, covering all of our parking lot. And for some locations, we hire armed guards for locations that are in upscale suburban neighborhoods that don't typically need security guards. We won't hire them because we don't have that issue. And we'll usually have panic switches on the reception desk, in the bathrooms, under every single station for the POS systems, in our offices. They're pretty much planted all over the store. So those are usually the security precautions that we take. For Henrietta, I think that we'll definitely open up with a security guard, and we'll see how things go. For the most part, we've had security guards full time at some of our locations. Not that we've had any issues, but just for the better being of our consumers, we want them to feel safe, especially if the neighborhood's a little sketchy or questionable. Our safety, the safety of our consumers is the most important thing for us, right? We want you to feel comfortable. And, our experience, we consider our experience an upscale experience. I mean, if you're looking at the rendering of our store right here, we put a lot of effort into the designs. Everything is all custom millwork. Every piece is custom made for us. I know the color might seem a little outlandish. There are brands though, like I'll give you an example, Tesla. They usually, their buildings will be all red, right? Another brand I can use, would be Jet's Pizza. They're a huge nationwide brand. I know they're not a close comparison to cannabis, but they're another brand that paints all their locations red as well. So it fits our look, and I know on paper it doesn't look that pretty, but when you see it in person, it's very catchy and beautiful and upscale, and the orange really sticks out. right? So we're not deferring from our existing colors, the festival green, the carnival orange. Those are our primary colors that we use. And it's a standalone building, so some of the comparisons that you gave us, unfortunately, we can't paint the building because it's a multi-tenant shopping center, right? And most landlords typically like to keep everything consistent. And it honestly would look awkward if only one section of the building was only orange, right? So when it's a standalone property, we like to incorporate as much as our design into it. And that's what we did with this New Mexico property. As you can see, it's a standalone property. Our Lansing property is also, Lansing, Michigan property is also standalone property that incorporates our Carnival Orange and Festival Green. Our Waterford, Michigan property that we are building from the ground up right now includes the Carnival Orange and Festival Green. But it's not a deal breaker for us to go back to the drawing board and try to put a design together that satisfies her needs.
Yeah, if I may, you referenced Tesla. We do have a Tesla location here in Henrietta. And you might want to take a look at how they've incorporated the aspect here in Henrietta, because in my opinion, it's a good use of color, something that's professional and elevated, but not flashy.
I agree. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Reynolds. Chair will recognize Mr. List.
Thanks, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
welcome.
I will echo Mrs. Safranek and Mrs. Reynolds on you look for something a little more muted, a little more professional. I think this market is it's going to become soon to be saturated. We currently have we have Rise Dispensary here, soon to be another one on
There is MJ
Jefferson Road called Misfits. I'm trying to think of any other ones.
MJ's is in
J's.
is in the Genesee Valley Market.
What made you choose Rochester, just out of curiosity, for this location, as opposed to Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany?
Yeah, I hear you. Sorry about that. It was on mute.
All right.
No, I liked the demographics in the Rochester area. It reminds me a lot of Oakland County, Michigan, which is, I believe that we also like the fact that it was limited. I think Buffalo at that point already had like 20 or 30 dispensaries, I believe. Syracuse, we really didn't find any real estate that satisfied us. We liked this location a lot because of where it was situated geographically, but also the demographics made sense. And the other part was the limited licensing, the fact that there's only so many competitors in the area, which gives us the best ability, to be successful. And we stayed away from the city of New York because of all the black market operators. So for us, we felt like Rochester, Henrietta was the best option.
Now, just to that point, and this is maybe a little bit off the point, but you mentioned black market, and I know you have 2, 4, 6, 7 locations in Oklahoma. No, 8, 9, many. Oklahoma is a very relaxed state in terms of its cannabis market. Is that correct? Am I right?
It used to be, not anymore. There's been a moratorium on
black market in Oklahoma.
Well, we're competing. We're competing against the black market, but every state has a black market. So, and New York at one point was really bad until finally looks like OCM is really starting to clean it up, which is fantastic news. And Oklahoma also had that cleanup, and they're still going through that cleanup. At one point they had 12,000 growers in the state. Now they're down to below 3,000, to give you an example. There's been a moratorium in place for the last 2 years that's pretty much indefinite at this point. And I would say the Attorney General has done a very good job, along with the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, for cleaning up the mess that happened in Oklahoma. So it's, it was a very interesting story how it all played out. When it passed, I think the state was so excited, and the ballot initiative, the petition that passed, was very loose and wide open, which opened up the floodgates. And it took a few years for the state to realize that this was quickly turning into a big mess. Is when they issued that moratorium, and they've been working on cleaning up the state. So you're going to compete with the black market in every state. It's, the main thing is trying to avoid them at all costs, right? And to us, Henrietta feels like a safe market. It's a good market. It's thriving. It's growing. Lots of development going on, and we believe we'll be successful there, and we'll be able to contribute to the township.
Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. List. Mr. Borkowski?
I am all set, Mr. Chairman. Thank
Very
you.
good. Kevin, I just want to mention to them, I'm looking at your locations here, and it doesn't look like any of them right now have the orange building with the green in the front. I mean, I'm looking again at, oops, I just lost it. The Norman site's a brick front. Lawton's more beige with your signage, Edmonds beige with your signage. So do you have another property right now that's got the same elevations style that you're looking at for Henrietta here?
Yes, well, the New Mexico location that's listed there, but it doesn't show the picture because it's coming soon. It's under construction right now.
Okay.
I can show you. Yeah, I can show you some videos from my contractor recently that's giving me updates, on what it looks like. But this location that you see that I'm sharing right now is exactly what it's going to look
New
like.
Mexico. Or that'll be New
Yes.
Mexico. Yep. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
Yes, this will be New Mexico. And all of the other locations you're looking at, none of them are like Norman's not a standalone. Lawton is not a standalone. These are all in shopping centers.
I see you said they're in plazas. Yep. Okay. I get that now. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Eckert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
I'm, again, we're sticking to the elevations, and what we're looking at here is okay, but man, what you're showing me up on the screen, I like a lot better than what I'm looking at here.
Well, really, it's going to look like this, but it's not going to have the mango cannabis icon. It's not going to have the flower vape edibles and concentrate on.
Yeah, and that's
the mango
that's
cannabis
your
is not going to be in color. It's
Amanda.
gonna,
Yeah,
that's correct.
yeah, and that's okay. Yeah, I
I'm
understand.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. My apologies. I understand the OCM lettering. You're not allowed to put that stuff up. That's New York State's rules. I'm liking the color. I'm liking how the orange is a little more muted with the accent of the green there, and I'm liking the expanse of the glass, which is what we're not looking at here so much.
I
So-
believe that it's missing some. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. I think the plans are missing some glass because there's a lot more windows, and I think the architect might have just missed that on the plans. Randy, correct me if I'm wrong. There was a lot more windows than what we're seeing on the plans. I'm going to pull this up on Google.
Yeah,
Just
that could be possible.
Confirm.
Yeah, I'd be more inclined.
Yeah, we don't plan on.
I'm liking better what you're showing me there as a facade concept more than what I'm looking at here. I guess as an architectural review, this is just a discussion.
Yep.
I'm just going to point it out that I would be more inclined to see a little more glass. One of the other comment I was going to make before I saw that shot was some symmetry to this existing. You've got 3 windows on one side and one on the left. I was only going to see if it would be possible to put 2 more on and put some symmetry to this. But if you're even going to put a little bit more glass like you have in a storefront there, that would obviously answer that question as well.
I guess I do have one question.
Or-
Is in New York State, are cannabis shops allowed to have windows
Yeah.
into their cannabis shops?
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so they might have to be tinted.
Yeah, I believe that they're not allowed to have windows to view any of the items inside. I don't know that for sure,
Right.
but I know the other properties, the other cannabis shops all have glass that cannot be seen through if they have glass at all.
Right.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm looking
I
at this.
think that rule, I believe that rule changed recently because I was in my Henrietta not too long ago and I visited Rise. And I noticed that their windows were open and you could see through them. But I will confirm with my compliance team that if they need to be, most likely we'll end up fogging them instead of tinting them. We'll see what best fits the aesthetic. From what I'm understanding, changing rules very things are very quick there. And then board manager, she's, I believe
I think the elevation, Kevin, I think the elevation does reflect what the window, there's 6 windows there today. So he's showing the 3 on the right side. There's 1 to the left of the door, which he's showing. And then there's 1, when I say there's 1 to the left of the door, there's 1 to the left of the existing left door that's being removed. And then the next window to the right is probably in conflict with the metal panel surround. So that's why we're ending up with 1 window on the left and 3 on the right. So I think it's accurate of what's there. It appears. So maybe, maybe we can look at whether that can be modified or not.
Yeah, I would request that that be modified to that it's at least symmetrical. I mean, again, I'm liking more to what I was just seeing on the screenshot than I am what I'm looking at from the submission. So that would help, subdue or a little bit more of the orange, especially when there's a little bit more facade around. I also saw online the and I forget which one it was. I think it was Norman that had still had some bricks around as well with the colorations. That looked, very good as well. It helped to subdue, I think, the colors a little bit more. But that being said, what I'm looking at here, some larger windows and some symmetry would be great. That's my 2 cents as a discussion item. The top light around the parapet or under the parapet, that just says LED light. Is there a color to that?
No, it's white light.
It's just white.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, those can get bright, so I try to be careful. We have a blue one that we missed that is seen from space.
Okay.
And that's not, I think, something we're.
And these are all, they're tucked up under the trim.
Great.
The intent is to basically
Downlight.
wall wash the building.
No, and that's good too, as long as it's white and we're commenting on that. That was the only other thing that I was catching from the other things that have flipped through here. So that's my 2 cents on that,
Thank you, Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, and I will just say that when I first saw that orange on the sample that came through, it scared me a little bit. That was pretty bright, but I do like that, the New Mexico prototype that you have there. That eased my mind a little bit. So I think you've gotten our comments. You kind of know what we're looking at.
Yep.
And you're coming back, right?
Sounds like we're going to come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just discussion tonight. I think you've got our feedback. No votes necessary for anything this evening, right?
It's just a discussion.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Can I suggest that this can be done via email? Do we need them to come back or is this something that we can?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We could,
We've done that before, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I wasn't outstepping my bounds.
I'm sorry, what are you proposing?
Proposing that we re-review it via email instead of another planning board meeting. We can approve or deny or ask for additions via email. We did it with Panera as well. We went 3 or 4 rounds with them. We were able to share via email.
and we can discuss it here internally as a discussion item and then let the
Craig,
applicant know.
I wouldn't recommend having a conference or a discussion over email about planning board business. If they're gonna, if they're gonna seek planning board input, they should come to the planning board meeting.
Oh, okay.
I would agree with that, especially I have pretty significant concerns and I'd really like to see some updates. So yeah, I would prefer that they came back.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep. So see you down the road at some point. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, our last item this evening, discussion item, Dick's Sporting Goods. We are to review the building elevations for Dick's Sporting Goods to be located at the old Christmas tree shop located at 790 Jefferson Road in a commercial B1 zoned district. Good evening, Matt. Good, how are you?
How you feeling?
So for the record, Matthew Oates with Benderson Development here this evening to present a new facade for the former Christmas tree shops. We have been able to secure Dick's Sporting Goods for that location. Dick's was going to be leaving the mall, so we were able to secure them for this space. We feel we've actually gotten pretty lucky. We've gotten 3 large vacancies over the past about year and a half at that location. We'll be able to get 3 good tenants to come in and backfill. The Dick's, you have the materials board that is up there. They're going to be taking down the entire front facade of Christmas tree, pretty much ripping it all off back to the structural wall that's there. That includes that vestibule that comes out. Their Christmas tree is a pretty unique facade, so there was real no way for Dick's to repurpose it. Their proposal is to basically do the Dick's facade that they have. It'll match the facade that is at the Marketplace Mall location as well. Fits in nicely next to the PetSmart. For the area where the vestibule is coming out, we're just going to be backfilling in with the sidewalk there. We are going to be taking that entire sidewalk area, ripping it out and replacing it. There's some ponding, there's some ADA compliance issues, so we're just going to be putting that back in, matching right back into the curb line, so not making any actual site plan changes, just some real maintenance items. But overall, it's a pretty straightforward application. Wanted to show the board how it looks, get any input, see what the
Very
board
good.
thoughts are.
And Mr. Franick, any comments on Dick's?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Dick's, and I like the facade, seems like a good location. What's happening to the one in the Marketplace Mall? Is
I
that
don't know.
relocating?
Yes, so this is a relocation of the one from Marketplace Mall. They'll close on one day and then they'll open at this location at the next day. What's happening with that actual location, that I'm not sure about.
Okay. And I know some of the Dick's Sporting Goods have become kind of a super center with like athletics and stuff like that inside. Is that a plan for this location as
Not
well?
for this one. So yes, so Dick's actually, just to kind of give you a little history, they call that their House of Sport. We're actually doing one out in the Amherst area. This one will be more of their standard Dick's Sporting Goods location, so more of their typical retail location. There is no plans for the outdoor field like that's in Victor that has the ice skating rink or anything in the winter.
Okay, I guess I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Matt. What's the square footage reduction? I'm guessing it's smaller, right, than the mall, so.
Correct. So the total square footage is 44,760. It's a reduction of about 1,200 square feet because that is a pretty large vestibule.
Only
that kinda-
1,200.
Yeah, that
Okay.
kind of sticks out for the Christmas tree. So that whole thing is coming down.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, great. Mrs. Reynolds, any
Thank you,
comments?
Chairman. I actually
Sure.
had the same question, wondering what was happening with the Marketplace Mall location, and you've answered the question, so thank you. Looks
Yep.
great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, Mr. List.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. No, I look forward to it. It's great that you were able to find for that space.
Yes.
What's just on a side note, what's happening with that space at the end? What's your tenant?
We don't have a specific tenant yet. We just started construction there. Right now, we're racing to try to get as much done. Bob's Discount Furniture, they're actually ahead of schedule, so they're trying to open in July. We've told them we're not going to do any construction for about the month that they open, just so they have a nice clean opening. So we'll probably hopefully get close to leasing that out probably later in the fall, get a tenant as it gets closer to construction to being finished up. But our plan is to have that fully finished up by the end of this year, so it's ready to go for a tenant, hopefully this year.
Very good. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
thank you. Mr. Borkowski.
This is cool that you're putting something in there. Now with that reconstruction you're doing,
Yep.
is there anything gonna be going out of the back of Dick's?
Just there, they have their loading in the back. but
So just
that's-
regular loading, so it's not gonna be like, remember my issue with Christmas tree shops?
Yeah,
so
no, I
they're
don't
selling
believe
stuff
there'll
to
be,
pick up?
there'll be any regular because I believe Dick's kind of has it where you would come into the store
Right,
and you
and
can
go
go
out
and
the
you pick
front.
up there. Yep.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
No other comments. The elevations look good. It's a good fit. Feel bad for Rochester that we're not getting a House of Sports like our areas, but
Well, no, you guys do. I mean,
Victor-
it's not,
Victor's got one, don't
it's
they?
not here. It is out in Victor. Unfortunately, they only kind of do one per market, unfortunately. But if we can ever get one, we will. We'll
Okay.
do our best.
nope, I'm in agreement with the elevations discussion, but I don't have any other comments, sir. Thank you.
Well, Matt, good for you and bad for Wilmerite, I guess, right? So now we're happy to have Dick staying in town and filling that space. That is a busy, busy plaza. It's nice to see it
It is, yes, we're
good.
very, I think it's a good testament to the town as well, the fact that we were able to backfill, because in this market, it's hard. Those size tenants, 45,000 for Dick's, 30,000 for Bob's, the Home Goods as well, that we're able to really get those tenants back. I think it speaks very highly for the town and this whole commercial plaza on Jefferson as well.
Right. Any comments on Mr. Martin? Mr. Young? Okay, very good. Thank you,
Thanks very
Matt.
much,
We
everyone.
appreciate you coming in.
Could we add in some orange?
Carnival orange.
FE 3428, I think is,
Mr. Barley?
if you
good
could
evening,
pass
sir.
that along as a comment.
How
see
are
what
you?
They say. You want
Good.
to?
Good. Yeah, thank you.
Orange.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
It does. There's things
Okay.